So now we're already a few minutes in. I'd like to get going. So, welcome back to another EMC Monday Mastermind call. We're Every Move Collective here today to learn from Tammy Woodbury, three-time icon agent, 20-year industry vet, about how to leverage the power of first-time homebuyer webinars to really educate and convert clients. So, before I go on to introduce Tammy at more length, just a quick reminder of who we are. So myself, my mom Eva, my brother Dylan, who's not here today because it's his birthday, run a top producing team out of Westchester County, New York, and neighboring Connecticut. We've got some other members of our team here on the call today who help us make all the magic happen. We run the amazing organization of Every Move Collective at eXp Realty, which brings you these bi-monthly masterminds on the second and fourth Monday of every month. So we come here to learn together from the movers and shakers of our industry. It's often very like topic specific so that we can, learn from someone who really has honed in on something that works well for them. And, we'd like to build a sense of community here, just as you can see with Patricia mentioning that she handles New Mexico, like just quick opportunity that who knows in the future could turn into a referral because we actually do know someone there who may look to buy. Hey everyone who's coming in a couple minutes late. Good to see
Hi.
you. Hi Pete, Travis, Caleb, Erica, Carlene. Glad to see you here. So we encourage you to be as conversational as possible. Definitely use the chat, raise your hand, jump in. If you can turn on your cameras, we welcome that. But yes, as I mentioned, so Tammy Woodbury, three-time icon agent, been in the industry for 20 years. She leads one of South Carolina's top 5 teams, and she's had a lot of success hosting first-time homebuyer webinars as it relates to educating clients and converting them into converting prospective buyers into her clients. And so kind of interesting topic. Who here, show of hands, has done a first-time homebuyer webinar before? Everyone's new. Annalisa, Eva, Caleb. Okay, cool. So would love to hear as we go through what's worked for you, where you're kind of looking to improve upon the process or build upon the process. And for those who are new here, don't hesitate to ask questions. This is a really, really great way to position yourself as an expert with your database. So Tammy, I'll let you do a little introduction to yourself and then we'll dive into your presentation.
Yes, I'm actually going to pull up my presentation really quick
Cool.
here. I have my own slide, for myself. That sounds very exciting. It's not as exciting, but
While,
I'll
while Tammy's doing that, if you don't mind just throwing where you're from in the chat so that as we go through the hour, we'll know where people are tuning in from.
Yes, and I think your names are already going to load in there, but I'm going to be checking that at the end because I want to know where you guys are in the country so I can send referrals your way as well because we work with buyers and sellers that go everywhere. All right, so can you guys see my screen now? Is it all loaded up for you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. All right, so of course, we are discussing the topic today of webinars. I love to see that some of you have done these already. There's a lot of ways to lead a webinar. When I first learned about this process, candidly, I was in a mastermind group with some other people who had hosted them before, had limited success, but there is a secret sauce to this. So we're going to go over that today. So I am Tammy Woodbury. I've been selling real estate for almost 23 years now. I run a team in the upstate of South Carolina with my husband. Now, if you're like, I don't know where that is, it's not like upstate New York. It's not really known that way. But if you've heard of the Clemson Tigers or Greenville, South Carolina, or Lake Kiwi or Lake Hartwell, that is my neck of the woods. If you're ever here, let me know. GSP is a popular airport. In fact, Eva and I were talking that she's going to be here next month. So I'd love to connect with you if you are here. Now, if you are curious about our market, and I share this just for context on kind of how sales work, this is a market where the average home sale price is $350,000. Yours could be higher or lower in your marketplace, but that's going to be, let's say 350 below is where we're going to find our first time home buyers in our macro market. And I'll also tell you that just for credibility purposes, on average, I personally sell over $50 million of real estate in my marketplace. So have a good work with buyers and sellers. At this stage, I focus a little bit more with sellers than with buyers, just because it takes a little bit more time, but I work with buyers in every price point, so I understand their behavior. Okay. So also, before I get too far along, this is an all skate. If you don't remember all skates, that's when you're at the skating rink and everyone got to play along. I am ADHD, okay? And so what I have learned over the years is when I participate in a mastermind, if I'm not in some way engaged, I'm going to accidentally be checking text messages and emails just because that's the nature of our business. You need every step in this process. What I also want to say is you're in the top 1%. Fewer than 1% of agents actually show up to learn these sort of things. If you're going to be here, I want to make the best use of your time. So I'm going to ask you to participate from time to time, just like Colby did, chatting in the chat box. Now, again, candidly, had a little bit of ADHD. So if you have questions, just shout them out or we'll talk about them at the end. Because if you type a question, I might not see it or I might get sidetracked. So if I don't answer it, we'll come back to it, but also just shout it out. Okay. So tell me really quickly in the chat, or you can blurt it out. Could anyone else use one more buyer right now? Anybody at all? Just one, at least. Two. Yes, always, please. Yes. Okay. 10. How about 10? I know this sounds silly. Keep playing my game. Thank you so much. How about 30? Could you use 30, not lose, can you use 30 more buyers right now, today?
No.
No, I'm so glad someone said no, because you're gonna think that I planted you in here, but I didn't. Okay. So let's talk about the 30 more.
Oh, you're on mute.
Super, is everyone on mute? That's super exciting to think about 30, but I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. If 30 buyers actually called you today within the hour, chances are highly likely that unless you have a dynamite team, systems, and processes that you're investing in, you could not service all of them well. I don't care who you are. That's just a matter of fact. Okay. But it should be a goal that at some point we could service them well. But what if we could just add more? Maybe not 30, but maybe we're going to figure out that your magic number is 5 or 10. You would like to have those buyers. So, quick question. This is not a trick question. What is the most valuable thing that we have? Please submit your answers in the chat box. Be brave. If you don't guess the answer, I want you to say, no one dies. Your bank account does not zero out. So it's a safe space here. But okay, health. Oh, now I want to change my answer, Patricia. Patricia. Knowledge, time. A lot of people said time here. Okay, so if you haven't guessed yet, because there's a couple people who haven't, here's a hint for where I'm going with this. So Carl, maybe if you want to cheat off his sheet, time is the answer. Okay. Have you ever, drop a yes in the chat box, if you've ever been to Mastermind or in a meeting or a conference and you heard an amazing idea about something you could do for your business, but you thought, when am I going to have the time to create this or implement this? Anybody at all going to tell the truth? I do this all the time. I'm like, that's the best thing ever. I'm doing it as soon as I get home, and then I don't do it, right? Okay. Everyone's in a different place right now. Some of you may have teams, you may have staff. All of us have been at some point in our business where we were the person installing the signs, we were the marketer, the secretary, the scheduler, the negotiator, the showing agent, the janitor, the CEO. We've been all these roles, okay? So I would venture to say that even if you've gotten to a place where you have staff, coordinator support, things like that, you still have a lot to manage. So there is a number of new buyer clients, so to speak, that would be exciting and would help financially fuel your business, and another number that would be crushing. So the purpose of this webinar is to be hyper effective, yes, but to do what you always dreamed of doing. So let's say you're meeting a first-time home buyer, you're taking through a home, you know that this is the best priced home for their budget with everything they need, and they're just tearing this home to shreds. Now, you're kind of at this awkward place. Some people in some parts of the country might be more aggressive. I'm in South Carolina. We have to honey, sweetie, like talk through it, show them 12 houses before we can rip off the Band-Aid. But either way, there's this whole point where you have to build emotional equity to explain what they should expect at any price point. Also, you'll meet buyers who think they have to put 20% down, or they hear closing costs and down payment and all these things. And either you've never discovered them your own way in your own words and don't know how to explain them, or you don't have the opportunity to get in front of buyers, or they aren't reaching out because they already feel like they can't objectively purchase a home. They don't have enough information. So when you effectively host a webinar, you get to offensively, and we're in football season, my whole family sports fans. So offensively is the way you want to present information, because that's when you're saying it when it's not personal to them, but you're educating them. The goal with the webinar is to get all your words out on what the process should be, set expectations of how they're effective. So then you're going to book a one-on-one and you're not having this long drawn out buyer consultation. At that point, they're ready to talk to you about their finances, talking to a lender, setting a timeline so that you have strong and serious buyers that you're able to move forward with. Now, drop a yes in the chat box if you have heard this word before. Anybody and always. I learned it way later in life. Yes. Caleb says yes. The word scaling. Okay. So if you have or do own or know anyone who's owned a mom and pop store, you're going to have to wear a lot of different hats, limited staff, lots of jobs. Okay. Now, if you own a Fortune 500 company, you now have an org chart. So people actually get in trouble for doing other people's jobs and they need to stay in their lane. I wish someone had taught me this sooner, by the way. What we're going to do today is we're going to scale this experience. So depending upon your time, resources, and money, we're going to set up a way to host a webinar that's going to work for you. But stay tuned to the end because I'm going to tell you about something special, but you're going to not get it until the end. So watch to the end, okay? Don't fall asleep either, or you'll miss it. All right. Here are our primary goals for the day. Learn how to host a webinar to be able to manage the number of buyers you can effectively serve. We'll figure out what your magic number is in a little bit. Learn how to scale this tool. So basically resources, cost, all those things, which one is best for you. And learn the knowledge and processes to attract serious buyers. Okay, the serious buyers is the key part because we've all had positioning in our business where we are meeting with buyers, we realize they're not qualified or not qualified for a while, or they have thoughts about things that are not accurate. So what this is going to help you do is get the information out quickly, isolate your time, and then only meet with people that are going to be ready to buy in the near future. All right. I know Caleb and one other person said that Annalisa, I think, has hosted a buyer webinar. But my question is, drop a yes in the chat box if prior to today you had the idea of possibly hosting a buyer webinar. And maybe you haven't done it yet. I imagine if you're here, you probably have had the idea before. A lot of yeses here. Okay. So a lot of times the reason people have not hosted a webinar yet is because they're not entirely sure how to do it. They don't necessarily know the content. They're kind of embarrassed. What if nobody shows up? They're worried about speaking in front of other people. And in fact, doesn't seem like I'm scared to do this right now. I'm not, but there was a period of time where for 5 years, I thought I'd like to host a webinar, but I didn't because of all of these reasons. So first and foremost, I'm going to teach you the steps today, but you're going to have to give yourself the discipline and bravery pep talks all by your own self. I can give you inspirational people to learn from if you need someone just to like yell in your face. Some people need motivational quotes and poems that are sweet. Some people need bulldogs in their face. I can guide you to all that. Or if you want to call me and say, Tammy, I need a pep talk today, tell me what version you need and I'll give that to you. But I want to give you a quick pep talk to say that we're going to go over some technology today. And I love when people tell me they are not good with technology and that it's hard and then they're scared to try to figure it out. I want to pause and say that you guys help people negotiate what is usually the biggest investment of their lives. That is very hard. Learning a little technology is not that hard. I want to also say fighting cancer is hard. Investing time and discipline into your business is not hard. It is discipline. So lock in and we're going to go over it now. Okay. The master formula before you start feverishly writing, okay, because there are a couple of slides that have way more words than are legally allowed by presenters, okay? We have rules, you're not supposed to have this many words. I am dropping something into the chat box right now, and I'm going to do this several times today. I'm going to let you know that I will send you all the slides from today's presentation, and I'm going to remind you multiple times today so you don't need to take notes. I'm putting the link there over and over again all day today, so you'll be able to find it. You do not worry about me spamming you. I'm an in-production agent with a team and a family. I have no time to spam you, so I will literally just be sending you the links from today's presentation, okay? But this is the master formula. And I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I started with this bullet point. It's not in order, but it's the one that when I heard it, I thought, I don't want to do this. I'd been working 12 to 14 to 16-hour days the first 18, 19 years of my career. And I had literally just sat down and I was like, I am no longer going to just work after 7 o'clock every night. And then I go to this training and hear about this. And they're like, you must do this at 7 o'clock or 7:30 at night. No exceptions or people won't show up and it won't be effective. And I wanted to die. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. It's not terrible. It's an hour. You can do it. It can be once a month. Okay. But the magic hour is 7 p.m. or 7:30. And it is an hour. The magic day is also Tuesday. There are analytics and studies behind this. Okay. Mondays are crazy for people. Don't try to get people to show up on the weekends. Fridays, people are going out. I know at least in the South, people have Thursdays already going out. And I live in the Bible Belt. They have church on Wednesdays. You can sometimes try a Thursday, but basically that leaves Tuesday. So that is your magic day and your magic hour. Your presentation, when you get started, unlike today where anyone can talk or chat, you're going to have them muted upon arrival. because it's 45 minutes of solid content. Okay, so somebody who wants to talk about cousin Jim, you don't want them to derail your presentation. You want them to engage in the chat, but you don't want them to take over your time so that you can be hyper focused on educating all of your buyers. Pre-registration is mandatory. This is usually the kicker. If people have or have not done webinars before, either they don't know about this or if they've hosted one, not doing registration, because there's going to be magic sauce to the follow-up that I'm going to tell you about in just a little bit. So if they don't pre-register, you won't be able to do this. Advertising and pre-registration can only happen 4 days prior to the event. That's the other magic piece of the puzzle. Don't do it a month in advance. Don't do it 5 days in advance. Don't tell them a week in advance. You want people to almost feel like, ooh, good thing I saw this ad. I almost missed it. It's coming up on Tuesday. I still have time to get in. They can even see it the day up and then watch that night. That's part of the hype and the momentum. So you want to make sure no more and no less than 4 days prior to the event. Meta. If you don't know what Meta is, basically Meta is the talking point between Facebook and Instagram. That's how we do ads. Don't panic for what I'm going to say next. Some of you are like, this is fine. Some of you are like, I can't breathe. Give me a second. But you're going to need to spend about $500. Can you spend less? Yes, we will come back to that component later. Also, some of you are like, I do Meta all the time. I've done webinars before. More money means more people coming. No, it does not. 500, period. If you start doing these every single month, you have 100 people showing up all the time. Yes. After you've done this and been super effective, maybe you bump it up to 1,000. But there are people who've been doing this for years and years and years who pull 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 qualified buyers out of every call, and they are not spending more than $500. In this case, more money does not mean more people. So just stick to your $500 for Meta, okay? And then continuously sharing in the chat ways that people can book with you afterwards. You will find that people will come into your Zoom webinar. They're giving kids baths or doing different things at that time. Some of them are, going to work third shift, things like that. And so they're going to leave. But the goal was to get them there, be able to tell them some important things in the beginning. And if they log off, it's that one-on-one call afterwards, because the serious buyers sign up for the one-on-one call. So over and over again, you're going to say, hey, P.S. by the way, I dropped in the chat the link to sign up to meet with me afterwards. So that needs to happen throughout the presentation over and over again. We'll talk about how that happens as well. Okay, done for you. Let me explain this. If you have limited time and the ability to wisely, maybe with the counsel of a coach or mentor, invest $5,000 to $10,000 into your business, there's a company who specializes in this and they can build and launch all of this for you. I will not tell you who they are until the very end, okay? I do not work for them. I do not get paid by them. I do not get discounts from them by telling you about them, but I will tell you who they are at the end of my presentation. So if you want that, you can. But for the rest of us who are still grassroots in the stage of our business, keep listening so we'll get step-by-steps in here. Now, show me you're still awake by typing at the end into the chat so I know that you heard when I will tell you about the surprise company. Again, I don't promote them. I wish I could get them to pay me, but they won't. They've yet to offer that to me. Thanks, guys. Okay. All right. The prep work. So I'm going to share just a little bit of technology with you again. If you've done this stuff before, great. If not, questions and answer at the end. But let me be clear. Interest rates just had the biggest drop in over a year. And if you have not been talking to your prospects about the fact that the mortgage applications increased last week by 30%, you should be. So I say all of that to say that if you are in a busy time in your business, now is not the time to launch this, because you're going to need to have a little bit of time to put this together. However, look at your calendar. Time blocking is very powerful. Mid-November through mid-January, all of us have some sort of seasonality, call it slowdown, lull in our business, okay? That is prime time for you to put your head down for 2 to 3 days and knock this out. 2 days if you're really good at technology and you recognize every software I'm telling you about next. 3 days if you're like, I feel like this needs an IT degree. It doesn't. Trust me, just hang with me. But if it feels overwhelming, give yourself 3 days. If you've seen all these software companies before, 2 days, okay? All right, now I am talking to the seasoned agent who has, let's say, fewer than 5 buyer clients or seller clients and fewer than 5 properties under contract. You're going to launch is mid-November, okay, through mid-January. If you have more than 5 actively working, like they're A's sellers that are going to sell quickly or they're A buyers that are going to buy quickly, and you've got more than 5 properties under contract, if you can carve out the time, you actually do need to put the foot on the gas and figure out how to do this now, because we have momentum in our marketplace with what's happening with the Fed rate right now. And there are a lot of buyers that are showing up. We did a quick off the cuff buyer webinar. Tons of people showed up to it. Okay. So it's because they're hearing this news cycle about how the rates are low. So figure out where you are in your business. We make strategic decisions all the time, but if you're in a place where you've got good momentum and you have the ability to carve out probably 2 days for you, you can get this working. Okay. Now, I am also going to tell you this. I'm not your mama or your business coach, but I'm going to give you some knowledge that I had to pay someone to give to me at some point. The most successful and effective people in the world know how to prioritize what we call a flow state. So when you're in the throes of creating something for a presentation, it's going to take a little bit of time and concentration. If you block off an hour here, 2 hours there, it is going to be a slow, painful death. You'll probably never complete it and you won't watch it. If you can figure out a day or two, maybe even 8 hours one day, that seems outrageous, but you sit down, you get in the flow state, you have all of these slides out in front of you because I'm going to give them to you, and you put in the work and you knock it out. Then you're going to be able to launch it. But I tell you that because when you see some of this prep work, you're like, okay, I'm going to forget this step before I go to the next one. Not if you do it all together. Okay. So first, you're going to create a booking link in Google Forms. These are just the bullet points. We're going to talk about how to do this in a second. You're going to have these contacts entered into a CRM, particularly one that would allow you to set up some sort of automated response with these people. Okay. Then you're going to create your meta ad and you're going to have it go out 4 days in advance. Then you're going to create a Calendly booking link. If you know these words, great. If you don't, hang with me. I'm going to explain in a second. And then you're going to have some sort of system for continual reminders to keep hyping people up, kind of like what you experienced with Colby and Eva, how before the event they're reminding you this is coming out, then they're telling you it's today, it's going to be in an hour, something like what you experienced there. Okay. Now, I'm just doing this real quick in case you haven't heard these programs. All right. So Google Forms, most everyone has a Google account or can access one. This is a free way to build a registration form. In fact, the link I use, I like to make really pretty Google Forms, but I didn't. So the one you're using to register took me less than 5 minutes to make. And I did that so you could see that's how basic it can be. Okay. Canva, this is where you're going to build and edit your presentation. I'm actually going to give it to you free with purchase. There's no purchase. You're just going to get it for free. Zoom, you guys are all on it now, so I know how to use it. This is where you're going to host your webinar. Calendly, we'll talk about different ways you can integrate your calendar, but this is how you're going to book your individual appointments later. And then Meta, this is how we advertise. Now, a quick note from my sponsor, ChatGPT. I'm kidding. They don't sponsor me either. If you are not using ChatGPT to learn how to work more efficiently, I'm going to tell you right now, you're holding yourself back. If you're like, it's weird, I don't know how to use it, just because you feel like it's a robot. If you've never opened up before, Google the words ChatGPT and then it works. Literally, you just type in the box. You can even then set up your own account. You don't even have to do your own account the first time. Cool thing is, if you set up an account, which is for free, you can pay for one, but you can get it for free, is it starts to learn the way you ask questions, the way you think. It keeps a memory of it. So if all of a sudden you're asking it questions about webinars, it's going to start giving you more information around that. Okay. So I say that because there's some programs here and you might be totally familiar, somewhat familiar, or not familiar at all. This is bizarre, but I have programs where I know they have tutorial stations in them, and I've gone and looked at those before, and I'm like, not registering. I go to ChatGPT and it tells me what to do, and it's much clearer. So don't hold yourself back. If you are looking at these programs and any of the next steps, you're like, I don't understand. Go to ChatGPT. Here's an example. I think just about everyone here is this all EXP? Is that correct? Mostly agents? No.
Actually, not necessarily. This is a brokerage agnostic community, so people from all brokerages attend, but it does look like maybe an EXP heavy crowd today.
Okay, perfect. So for what I'm going to say next, Bold Trail, if you already have it, you're at EXP, slam dunk, because they have something called campaigns built in. If you're like, okay, I don't want to confess, I don't know what a campaign is, I've never opened my Bold Trail before. That's okay. We all could start new here, okay? But you can go to ChatGPT and you can type in something like, how do you create campaigns in Bold Trails? Campaigns are automated systems. So if you guys didn't know this, let me pause and just tell you something life-changing. Let's say you have buyers that go to an open house and they automatically feed in there. You can put it, they'll automatically get a hashtag that says open house. You can have it set up that like the day of it sends a text message automatically. Then that night it sends an email. Then the next day it sends an email and a text. So you never have to think about it and then they just respond at some point. So that is already built into your Bold Trail. If you are using a different website or a different CRM, you can literally go to ChatGPT and you type the words. Is there a way to create campaigns in X program the same way you can do campaigns in Bold Trail? That's why ChatGPT helps me all the time. If I've got different software, I'm like, how do I do it here? And they're like, yes. And here's the process for doing it. Okay. So it recognizes what the word campaign is. You may not even know what a campaign is, but it will, and it will put that in there for you. And it has video and step-by-step actions. Literally last week, I fixed my hot water heater and I was so proud in 5 minutes, as opposed to calling my plumber, waiting 2 days and spending $100 for him to fix it. So ChatGPT does literally do everything. Also, I'm going to put this into the chat right now because this is the #1 question I get from people. And this is your question. You can also put it into ChatGPT if you did not know. If you're creating a Google form, ask this question: how do I create a registration form in Google Forms? That's your first question. And then your second one is, how do I get Google form responses sent to me? Okay. So those are your questions. And it actually will usually ask you, if you say, can I create a form? It's like, do you want to know how to get your responses? It's amazing what it starts to learn and what it will ask you. Okay. But you want to ask those 2 questions. Now you've got your Google form. You know how that works. Okay. So let's get deeper into this. Canva. You're going to get this presentation, okay? If you don't do anything else from today and you watch it all and you're like, this was cool, but I'm not going to do this ever or for 6 months, totally fine. I won't even know. But I am going to share in the chat, or you can scan this QR code right here, the presentation. I've had numerous agents that I'm friends with that are in my network, on our team. They just get the presentation to study it because it's where you can learn about mortgages, different things to remember to tell a buyer, general costs for things, all sorts of things. So it's great just to grab the presentation, study it, learn a little bit more about the buying market. Also, you can customize this presentation. I am a girl who likes to rip off and duplicate. You will not hurt my feelings. Please do it. Take my picture, delete it, and my name, delete it, and replace it with yours. And then you have your custom presentation right here. Also, when you are presenting this, I want to go ahead and tell you now, if you ever watch one of my presentations, even though the slides are very detailed and there's a lot of math, one of the questions that Colby and Eva asked me at the beginning of this, and it will be the #1 book I say anybody should read. Don Miller writes a book called Building a Story Brand. He is one of the best marketers on the planet right now. And he will tell you that storytelling is the way to make people understand. There are a lot of slides in here that are like, here's a USDA loan, it's no down payment, but the PMI is a little bit higher. There's technical stuff in there to prompt you just so you're educated. Generally, I will duplicate this presentation, delete it out, and on my back slide, it reminds me to tell a story. Like I was telling a story with a buyer recently. Someone had told them to get a particular loan. They felt extremely informed. I said, that is a great loan. But there's a special loan program right now where you can get the exact same house, no extra money out of pocket, and your payments would be $165 less. Would you like to know a little bit more about that? I just had my client go through that process. Yes, Tammy, I would. So a lot of times you're going to find stories and you're going to talk anecdotally about how this works, or a client experience you've had before, or why you do a home inspection, or something crazy you've heard that someone found when they didn't do a home inspection after they moved into the house, okay? So you can go through these slides just as they are, but stories are a really powerful way to connect as well. All right, I mentioned the Google form. I mentioned if you've never done this before, it's super easy. Go to ChatGPT. It will take you less than 5 minutes. Ask them for a copy of the responses. And then after you do this, you will be getting registrations every time someone signs up for your webinar. So you're going to include this in your ad later. So you'll save the link for this. Now, the only things you need: name, email address, phone number. Just 3 things. Don't ask them any questions. Don't ask them what their biggest goal is in life. Don't ask them what their emotions are about your webinar. Just ask 3 simple questions. That's the information you're going to need to go into your CRM. Any questions anyone have immediately as we're going through this? Because I know this is a lot of quick stuff. Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, now, whether you're paying a person to work your CRM for you, some people have coordinators that do that, or whether you're like, it's my 2nd day in real estate, I got nothing but time, sister, and you're going to reach out to everyone individually. Okay, it doesn't matter. A key for people showing up is really doubling down. Like, in fact, Colby and Eva do an awesome job when I saw their emails reminding people. But I'm going to tell you it's like 10,000. And I'm also going to tell you that you're going to think this is annoying, but I'm a girl. If I don't immediately find value from you and then I get the first email that's an auto email, I have unsubscribed so fast. I don't have time to unsubscribe, but I make it a priority because I'm like, do not spam me, okay? When I first signed up for this webinar training, because they knew they were going to be telling us the value of consistent follow-up up to the event, they put everyone who registers for it through the same experience, so you know. So I think I signed up 2 days before the event. So I get this email and text that's like, congratulations, Tammy, you're going to change your business, blah, blah, blah. Can't wait to see you in 2 days. We'll send you the link in your email the day of the event. Got a text that said the same thing. The next day, it's like 24 hours. Can't wait to see you, blah, 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 blah. That night, it was like, you have one more sleep until the event. The next morning it starts. It's like 12, 11, 10. At some point, I'm like, oh my gosh, they are going to text email me every hour down to like the ball dropping kind of thing. And what was crazy is normally I could have gotten busy, and that day I had a huge client who wanted to meet that like later in the day, and it was going to push this off my calendar. But even though I'm not a FOMO girl, I'd gotten so many notifications about it's going to change things and change my business. I didn't want to. I say,
Sorry, one sec.
sorry. I don't know if that was me or not. I'm like, did I touch something?
I muted.
Okay. But that being said, I was so excited that I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be on here. Like, it could be totally lame, but they've just been building this hype and I didn't get annoyed by it at all. So you're going to need to do that, which is why registration is important. When I've talked to people who've said they've done webinars in the past, the difference in what made them effective or not was the people who registered versus the number of people who showed up. Okay. So that is the most important part here. If you don't follow up, you'll have an empty Zoom room and that feels weird. Okay. Drop the words Google form into the chat if you're tracking and you're still awake and you know this is such an important part. Or if you're napping. What did she say? I said Google form. Great work. Okay. Just so you know, I will say, and it's not very expensive at all, it's between like $15 and $21. I mentioned a couple things. I mentioned the Facebook ad. This is the only other thing you really need to do. Everything else you can get a free version of. You need to upgrade to a pro Zoom account. One, because I think they still cap us at 45 minutes on a free account. So you don't want to have like your Q&A section and then everyone to your free account expired and it shut off on you. Number two, I have colleagues now. If you're in a bigger city, like I heard someone was in Detroit, bigger cities have way bigger turnouts, just being 100% honest. Some of you are going to see better numbers just because of that. Had a guy, his very first one he launched, he was in my group and had 200 and something people show up the very first time. There's a max to a regular account. So if you have that pro account, then you're not going to worry about the number of participants who can actually get into your Zoom meeting. So that is why you want to upgrade to that account. Now, everything else on here, most of us, I think, probably have Zoom downloaded on our computers. That's how you're using it right now. Don't beat your head against the wall like I did. The settings that you're going to adjust are on the Zoom website, zoom.us. So just know that because you're going to try to go through your settings here and be very frustrated. You're not going to see these things there, okay? But also, if you're just testing out this webinar thing, I think the reason it's $21, if you're just doing month to month, I think it breaks out to like $16 a year if you're doing annually. So you can just try it one time for a pro account and not be committed to that forever and ever. Amen. All right. Now, I know I've said this before, I'm going to do it again. I'm about to drop into the chat box a link to get all these slides at the end. So all this stuff I'm telling you, just so you know, you don't need to write any of this down. But one day you're going to have these slides and you're going to go back when you're in a flow state and you're going to do all this. This is just the next few slides are going to tell you what you need to do, okay? So these things right here, like this is what actually happened today. You probably didn't know, but actually probably if you have questions about this, call Colby because I know that she does all this for the meetings that you guys are in. But it's how you turn on the waiting room. It's how you have a co-host. We'll talk more about a co-host here in just a minute. Could be your husband, not your dog, but your husband, friend, anybody. You can buy them drinks afterwards if they're willing to stay on here with you and just type a few things in a chat box, okay? But these are the settings you're going to need to adjust in Zoom. I won't waste your time with that now because I don't want you to go to Zoom and get lost. Okay, Calendly. All right. If you've heard of Calendly before, just say yes in the chat box. I think most of you have. A lot of you are probably using it. Okay. So I'll probably assume everyone else has. So basically, if you haven't heard of it, it integrates with your calendar. Hopefully you're not using a paper calendar. I tell everyone you should do everything digitally because you can track it, you can change it. It's so easy. But before you go into the webinar, you're going to set up your Calendly. Maybe it says first time homebuyer webinar, and you want to set up times, particularly in your calendar where you have the most availability the first 3 days afterwards, sometime Saturday and Sunday, not a lot. It's your weekend. You don't have to block up a lot of time. And then through the next week. Most people aren't really going to go into the next week. The serious people, the people who won't cancel, will be in the first 24 to 48 hours. Usually by that Friday's the end. I do have people this weekend, like we did one last Tuesday. We had multiple people the first 2 days after, a couple people on the weekend, and actually someone on my team is hosting a one-on-one right now. But the most serious people are going to be excited and they're going to connect right away. So you want during the webinar, like as I've been sharing my link, the link you're going to be sharing is to sign up in Calendly to meet with you or someone on your team afterwards. So it's already going to have preloaded your availability, so they're not booking times that you're not available. Okay. But again, first 3 days after, most important, usually into a weekend, because you're going to do it on Tuesday. So you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe for people who work during the week too late, a little bit of time Saturday. Maybe you don't do Sundays, and then a couple of days into the next week. I will tell you, there's a Gmail option now with your calendar that you can do this for free. I just tell everyone, make sure you really test stuff out, because what you don't want is like you're in a webinar, giving out a link, and people start chatting that they can't make it work, or it's not showing your schedule, and then you're wanting to jump off a bridge because you don't know how to fix it at that time. Calendly has a free version, I think, for one person with one event. So you could even try it for free. And then Zoom, I think normally it's like $10 a month. Colby, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick comment slash question, because obviously you've now walked us through some of the really important steps to hosting the webinar, like, running the ads and setting up the form and the systems and all that. And now with this next step of actually converting from the webinar to a one-on-one appointment, which is really what's going to get that buyer into an intimate conversation with you and give you a higher chance of converting them into a client and helping them buy a home. With that, like, do you find that a lot of buyers are working 9 to 5 jobs? Like, they often aren't going to be able to have a consultation in the middle of their workday. Like, is it really important to offer that availability, like you said, kind of on the weekend and the after hours? When you're booking those one-on-ones, do you find that they're happening outside of 9 to 5 more often than not?
Great question. The bulk of them will happen 9 to 5. A good number will happen at 6. And actually, you want this. Your most serious buyers make time for it. And those are the buyers you're trying to capture anyway. Now, there are some people legitimately have the money and they work 12-hour shifts during the week, Monday through Friday or whatnot. So that's why we keep a little bit of time. But if you ever see our availability, it's very limited on a Saturday or it's very limited on a Sunday. We don't give a lot of options there just because we're trying to limit what we have to do there, but most of them will happen Monday through Friday. I call it 9 to 6 because some people get off at 5, and so you're starting them at 5, but usually between those hours. Great question.
Got it. Cool.
And then you'll see this in the slide, but Zoom also has an option that's $4.99. Again, I have no idea how well that works. I've never used it, but I would say stick with Calendly. It's free for one event anyway. Okay, so now we're going to talk through, like you were just saying, how to promote it. You can click on this QR code. Also, you get all the slides. I'm also going to drop a chat box here. You can create any ad you want. If you hire a graphic designer, like a true graphic designer who does marketing, they know what things are working. I don't particularly think this is the best looking ad on the planet, but it performs very well on Meta. Okay, so somebody who gets paid to do this figured out what components make people sign up, and this is the one that makes people sign up. But if you click here, there are other options, so you can look at other options. They all perform the same way. Literally what you'll do is that's like our downtown. Like I'll do one Anderson County because that's one of our counties. I'll do one that's Greenville County, and I'll have Falls Park there, whatever is a known part of your city. And that'll be in the backdrop. And then you just put your picture and your name, you have your date and time. And then the link down here is actually what takes you to the registration. Okay, I know that's small, but you'll get this if you click on this QR code or in the link I just put in the chat box. Okay, so this is going to be your template. You can create it in Canva. I think just about everyone knows how to work through Canva, but if not, if you click on this, it'll take you there and you can set up an account. And if you're at EXP, I think we all have free Canva accounts now. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you right now. Meta, which is where you do your marketing for Facebook and Instagram, can be frustrating and confusing. Colby and Eve actually mentioned before they have other speakers who can teach on this, or you and ChatGPT can deep dive and venture into this together. But what I'm going to do next is give you the steps. And either I would say on the next screen, you screenshot it and pop that puppy into ChatGPT and be like, how do I do this? The only thing I would say is you can reach out to me for anything on the planet. do not reach out to me about Meta, because I will be like, I do not know, because I had to pay somebody because I was like, I don't want to figure this out anymore. But lots of people before and after Tammy Woodbury have done it, and they're like, it is so not hard and you should have figured this out, but I didn't. So here are your steps, okay? All the things here. I will share with you 2 quick links. Under the Facebook Manager creation page and all that, people often have questions about that. And I was told that other people have done this, and they've told me they have, that if you go to those 2 links in Facebook, it will tell you everything you need to know about all this. I have not personally experienced that. Everything else I tell you about, I have done myself. This I have not, but feel free to use those links if you would like to later to test them out. Okay, next, after we bump out of Meta. Okay, here are next steps. There's a lot of time left here, so don't worry. This is not just immediate. This is just for like overall. Go through the entire Canva presentation that you got in the very beginning. That's the presentation that you can swap out my picture, put in your stories, put in your testimonials, so you become familiar with the content. Find a moderator or co-host. I mentioned somebody you can take out for pizza and beer, cocktails and charcuterie, whatever afterwards, because you're going to want them to interact with your audience the kind of the same way that Colby's interacting with you, dropping that link. This content is easy for me to go over, but when you are going through buyer specifics, you're talking about financing, you're talking about all the places they're going to spend money. They're going to be dropping some questions in there that your moderator is going to tell you about. That's a lot. You don't want to have to be hunting for a link. You don't want to have to be engaging that way. You want to be able to focus on your presentation. So you're going to want someone who's just a part of this, who's muted. You'll see in my presentation, usually my co-host is someone on my team, and it's also there, it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other agents that are going to be working with the buyer clients afterwards. So I actually have their pictures, and I actually take a second to introduce you to them. So they're the ones moderating and talking in the chat, but they're also going to be the ones following up later. But also, if like you tricked your boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, whoever into being your moderator, it is okay that they're not meeting with them afterwards and they're moderating. So don't feel like it needs to be another face that's going to engage with them later. Set at least 3 days as the minimum. You really want 5, but you want at least 3 days with times of availability chunks in your day that you can meet with people after the webinar, because that's when they're going to try to sign up. The most serious buyers are going to be the first 3 days. They're going to try to sign up maybe by day 4 if they work during the weekend, they can't meet till the weekend. Pick a date for your webinar. You want it to be scheduled like in your brain. You want to know 1 month out, okay, just so you're prepared for it, especially for your very first one. Once you start doing them all the time, you don't need to pick dates that far out, of course. Be familiar with sports teams, schedules, holidays, anything that can slow things down that time of year. You know, different people have different interests, and you're going to host these regularly, but do try to be aware of that. But as far as your first date, you're doing this, pick a date 2 to 4 weeks out from the time you plan to have your flow state and build this. I would highly recommend you go ahead and put dates on your calendar. There is something known as Parkinson's law. If you ever noticed when you were in college or in high school, you have like all this time to prepare for a project, and I don't care how organized you are. Some people are, you know, further out than others, but typically you're going to do your best work the night before it's due, the 2 days before it's due. Parkinson's law says that our time, if we have a lot of time, then it expands to fill it. So we don't take the time when we need to earlier to prepare. So if you go ahead and put a date on your calendar, that's going to put pressure on you then to set the flow state date. If you set the flow state date, you're going to be more obligated to stick with it, because you know you put a date out here for advertising. Build your ad and registration link. Send it out 4 days prior to the webinar. I keep saying that because 4 days is your magic number. At the end of all your webinars, you need a Q&A. If guests don't ask questions, you can be prepared with questions. I'll share some commonly asked questions with you. But this is a mandatory part. You're going to find that people are going to chat. You are still in control of the webinar. So if it gets too personal, or they're like kind of really wanting to showcase what they know, then you can help redirect that. But it's a great way for you to really start to hard press for them taking the time to meet with you afterwards, because as conversation starts, they're going to realize this is more specific. And so you're going to want them to meet with you. So this is when you're really going to say, hey, go ahead and click on that link here. Let's set up a one-on-one time, everyone. Like I think we saw this for the first time. The last webinar we had 100% participation of people who came to the webinar. They booked a follow-up call, but the bulk of the booking came at that time in the Q&A. By the way, I just dropped a link here. This is for commonly asked questions in case you don't know. It's all the questions you would think of, but you just don't have to use your brain power now to find those. You can click on that link and it'll open up a Google form for you. And we actually have a customized buyer questionnaire, but just in case you would just like one that is more generic, I'm going to drop that in the chat as well, and you can copy that. So if you're like, what do I talk about the next day with them? They're probably going to guide you, because based on the content of your webinar, they're going to have specific questions already in their mind. But in case you just don't kind of know where to get started, that questionnaire will help you as a guide. All right, all of these pages, remembering that I'm going to give you all the slides from today, so you don't need to do anything here, but I'm just showing you that the next 4 slides are all the things that you're going to need to do to prepare. Okay, this is kind of your cheat sheet. So things like, if you have a Mac, put it on Do Not Disturb, because you don't want your text messages about, someone let the dog out and all the other things in every transaction popping up on your screen when you're in a presenter mode. Okay, how to open up your Zoom account to make sure you're logged into it, so you don't go to launch the meeting and it's like you're not logged into this. How to make sure that everybody can get in and that they're muted upon entry, those kind of things. Canva, how you're in presenter mode. You don't know this now because I could show you, but this is just like, I'm sharing this because every time someone asks me, I'm like, why have I never shown anyone this before?
So, quick question, the one of the links that you just shared is the buyer profile form.
Mhm.
Sorry, so when and how do you use that?
That's what that consult appointment. So it's just when you're
Okay.
having questions with them. A lot of times, what we have found when they come to that, they were like, hey, thank you so much for sharing about the financing. I definitely thought I had to put 20% down. I had no idea there were loans out there. I already have $15,000 saved, but I thought I had to have like 60 grand saved. So they're talking about finances, and actually one of the links in one of the slides, I'm sorry, in our presentation has a lender. A lot of times they've already reached out to our lender. I remind our lenders prior to the event that we're having an event tonight. So if you get an application, here's our roster of everyone who showed up, recognize these names, they may be applying. So a lot of times they've already taken these steps. I'm going to pull back the screen just a little bit so you can see all my notes. So when you're in a presenter version, you can have all of your notes here, and then this is what they see. Okay. So this is kind of, how you would set up your presentation, but it reminds you to do all those things as well. So that when you're sharing your screen, they can only see the other window, but it lets you know how you set that up. Okay, but those are the actual things to do 4 days leading up to it, or several days leading up to it, and then the day of, and then the 5 minutes prior. This is literally reminding you. So you can have these slides printed out. So when you're hosting yours, it's going to remind you. And this is literally, or call Colby, because this is what she did today, in case you guys didn't know. But it's all the steps, what to do right before you go live. I don't mean to make everyone call you Colby.
Yeah, I mean, if if anyone ever has questions about how to set up like a Zoom registration link or a Google form or Calendly, these are all things that I'm very familiar with and I'm happy to help you. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out because technology is my friend. I'm, happy to share what I know.
Which is great. And don't spin your wheels. Just when people know how to do it, just ask them. You can share a screen in 5 minutes and figure it out. So I started the
Yeah, and I'll say like as far as meta ads go, like I'm only starting to get familiar with those, but I totally called a friend, a realtor who has done this successfully, and I said, "Will you please take 45 minutes to walk me through this?" And I don't know, when you come from abundance, like and you surround yourself with people that have that mindset, like they're gonna say yes. And so, I was lucky enough to have a friend who was able to walk me through that. So you don't necessarily need to pay to learn how to do it. And with ChatGPT now, you really can. Like, I don't really Google anymore. Really. I like when I need to know how to do something, I'm asking ChatGPT, like, how do I set up a meta ad? Like, how do I set up a registration link? Because they provide it step by step, and it's just great.
Our youngest son's in college right now, and the other day I said I was going to Google something. He's like, "Tell people how old you are, mom." And I'm like, "Google's outdated. Chill out." But so ChatGPT it. So I started this presentation by asking if you could handle 30 more buyers. If legitimately you could, because you have a team. Like I could take 30 buyers today, not me personally, but I have a team. By the way, if you have a team, this is probably the biggest conversation I have when people want to start a team. People join teams, yes, they want to learn, but they want leads. That's one thing that they want. So if you've been buying leads, you're spending money, they're fractionally getting them. This is a great way to capture great leads. Plus, your agents, they'll study the presentation. They become phenomenal agents because they have that content as well. Okay. So this is a great way to do it. Now, I say that if because of where you are in your business, you have $5,000 to $10,000 that you can set aside for a new project. This company, Rico Demand, which again, I get paid for them. It's who I have used to get to this point now. They will do it for you. The only thing you have to do is create your own presentation. So that's why I gave it to you. Anybody can do it, but you can go ahead and edit it. But they will create they'll ask for your picture, they will create your ad. They will do all your meta advertising. They will do a one-on-one meeting where they go in and they set up your Zoom settings. They set up all of your meta for you. They have their own proprietary CRM at $75 a month, where they create a registration link. They give you the registration link. They advertise it for you. The people click on the link. They go into the CRM. They automatically get those text messages and emails we're talking about going automatically. After the event, they get a text and email, so you don't even have to follow up. They're there. All of their contact information, if they register, is in this database. But it is a done for you, but it is an investment. So if that's where you are, again, I don't know all the programs and systems are going to promote to you specific for your business, but you can scan that QR code and you can call Rico Demand and figure out if that is the best thing for your business. And just in case you're having trouble with the QR code, I'll drop it in the chat as well. But we have officially made it to our Q&A. So if you have any questions about what my experience has been like, about this process in general, please feel free to ask now.
Everyone's got that all down pat? I know it's a lot.
No, it's amazing though. It's very
Yeah.
helpful.
And we'll share the replay as we do with all of these on YouTube. And so you can go back through this at your own pace. You could probably even like feed the transcript of this video, frankly, to ChatGPT and say, hey, make a step-by-step guide for me based on what Tammy taught us, and turn it into a checklist so that you can move through that checklist with intention and you can pace it out. You know, like Tammy said, some of you might be ready to hit the gas on this and really make this a reality in the coming weeks. Some of you, maybe you plan to have this launched by November. But whatever you decide works for you, I think there's a variety of ways that you can approach this, either on your own, you know, with the support of AI, with, you know, paying a company to do it for you, or, you know, consulting with friends to learn certain tools. So
And Tony just asked a great question, conversion rate. So I want to answer this two ways. Ironically, so far, 100%. Now you have A, B, and C buyers. Okay. We have some buyers we meet with, and we tell people this in the webinar. My buyers who get the best deals when they buy homes are ones that didn't decide tomorrow when they thought they'd save enough money, they were ready. They started 3, 6, 12 months in advance, having an intentional plan, knowing the loan they were going to go after, you know, starting to look online after we figured out what their future budget would be. So they're looking at homes in their price point, and then they're going to gun for those when they're ready financially and through all the other ways, or they're getting out of a lease or whatever. But in saying that, everyone that we've met with, we have converted, because if they're signing up on that link, they've connected with you. They just spent an hour listening to me gab. So if they're going to be willing then to engage in more time with us, they're serious about wanting to take next steps. Plus, they're hearing that the purpose of this is not for me to put pressure on you. I'm not going to say you need to buy something immediately. That's not my goal. I want you to buy when it's the best time, but we're going to figure it out. 99 times out of 100, the buyers who thought they would be ready in 3 months are really ready now. The buyers who thought they'd be ready in 6 months are really ready in 3 months, and so forth and so on. So these buyers all close within a year. But so far, if they sign up for the actual one-on-one, they're 100% conversion. Now, percentage-wise, I will hunt this down before we get off this call. This is actually a Rico demand stat. I think you get like 20% of what actually attend that are serious. So if you have like 150 people in attendance, you should expect 20 to sign up for a one-on-one. So just FYI on that, but I will hunt that down before we get off this call. Good question.
any other questions?
Yeah, one more. And Tammy, great presentation. Appreciate your time. Are you working only with first-time home buyers, or are you sometimes marketing to home buyers in general that are thinking about upsizing, downsizing, and making a move?
Great question. So generally when agents start out doing this, and again, I only know this data because of Rico Demand. I didn't know this beforehand, but these are the highest attended with the greatest conversion. So if you're spending $500 on a Facebook ad, you want to get the most bang for your buck. That's why these are top. But yes, we've had very good results. We've done I forget the title of the webinar, but like, I own a home, I want to buy a bigger home. How do I do that? physically and financially. Investor seminars are really good too, as far as helping them figure out investment properties, the type of investor they are, those sort of things. And seller seminars are effective as well. So any of those work, just first time home buyer, you just get really good results. And, to tell you why this is so effective, at our last webinar, we started seeing this trend probably 3 or 4 webinars ago, but it was super bizarre. As you get really good at storytelling, we would find, I've not seen this with anyone else, but it just tells you how first time home buyers are. Like on a screen like this, normally people, for different reasons, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. A lot of people have their camera off. We watched that as the webinar increased into the night, we watched 100% of the people turn on their cameras. Like they got so engaged in what was happening that like seeing them on camera didn't do anything for us, but they wanted us to know, or they wanted to be that intentional. They weren't texting, they weren't doing anything else. They were fully engaged. So we've not seen that with the other groups, but that's why, we coach on first time home buyers. So again, you can maximize your efforts, coach a lot of people on investing. You can do this for any group, but you'll have the greatest results. And as far as immediate turnover in first time home buyers.
Cool. Well, if no one else has any questions, we can wrap up. Really appreciate you all being here today. Tammy, thank you so much. This is such an awesome way to bring value to buyers, and it's complex, but it's practical. So I really hope everyone, go. Oh, Annalisa, yep.
I was just to let Tammy know that I do have a buyer who is selling their home here and moving into that area. We'll give her contact to them.
Yes, I'd love to connect. Thank you so much.
It's a beautiful area. I have friends who already live there that moved up from St. Augustine, Florida. And yeah, it's beautiful. Lake Kiwi's gorgeous. It's so
Love it.
pretty.
Come to
Yeah.
Greenville with me. I'm going next month for a quick
Yeah, Greenville's beautiful too.
come visit with
Oh
me.
yeah, I'll go.
By the
I
way,
told
guys,
her I'll pack me a new suitcase.
yeah, come quick overnight. It'll be fun. We'll go to dinner.
Absolutely.
By the way, guys, I can't say more, more about the power of connection through groups like this, where you see people time and time and time again, and you actually are referring to people that you know. It's such a powerful way to build your business, and we hope to see you guys again.
Yeah, I just dropped the sneak peek at our lineup for quarter 4. So the next time that we will meet in this space is unfortunately actually October 13th, which is a little ways out, but that's just how it falls, the second and fourth Monday of every month. We've got a really awesome lineup, some really amazing people teaching us on unique topics that we've never brought to the EMC Monday Mastermind space before. So we hope you tune in. You can join our Facebook group, which is the last link I dropped here in the chat. We'll give reminders for every event. You can RSVP to all of our Monday Masterminds here. And so, yeah, check it out. Don't hesitate to use the group to, share referrals, ask questions. If you have a question that comes from this as you start to dive into hosting your own webinars, like post it on our Facebook and people can dive in and answer your questions. So thanks for being here. Thank you, Tammy. If anyone needs to get in contact with Tammy, just hit me up and we'll connect you.
You're
Thank
going to
you
send a
so much.
follow-up email, right?
Yeah, everyone will get a follow-up email, the replay as per usual. So have a
Excellent.
great week, everybody.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Tammy.